Okay, let's get started. A file menu, I'm going to select batches to display the batch browse list. Then I'm going to click on the new batch button to open an entry form. First thing you should do, enter your product name. So I'm going to use Davis Drill, right? Now that item isn't in the substance section, and each batch has to be linked to a record in the substance section. So it's asking me to create one. I will do that. And it brings up a list in case you want to add any information about the new product. I'll put in just a few things, but they're not actually required. If you do have a relative density or an actual density, it's not a bad idea to enter that though. So odor is petroleum, and I'll put an appearance of reddish brown slurry, and that's all I'm going to put in. Click on the create button, and now we have a linked batch, and I'm going to add my first ingredient. It's going to be from my list over here, my ingredient list, my recipe, diesel. I'll leave off the number 2 so I can get all the diesels. I'm going to double click here, and that adds it in, and I'm going to put in 90 gallons. So, alright, I selected it using the up and down keys on my keyboard, and now I'm going to hit a return. And as you can see, it puts the pounds and the gallons in there. Cost $5.49 per gallon. Okay, my next ingredient, barium sulfate. To do this more expeditiously, you can just double click on an empty row. You don't have to go to the add menu. And there it's going to be 350 pounds. And let's see, price is going to be $2.70 a pound. That's based on buying a 50-pound bag. Whoops. Okay, my next ingredient is going to be calcium carbonate. I don't have to enter all the characters. Tab out, and I'm going to just pick the first one that's highlighted, so I'm going to hit a return. Okay, and that's going to be 200 pounds, and price is going to be $68 a pound. That's based on a 50-pound bag. Okay, my next ingredient is calcium chloride. And here, notice this one of them is blue, right? That one means it's been validated. So if I were to push the validated button here, that's the only one that would show up. You can also have items that have a little heart. In this first column it says my. That means that they've been checkmarked as my ingredient or my substance in the substance section of the program, but we don't have any of those. So if I were to click on my items, nothing would show up. So I'm going to double click on calcium chloride to add that one. 90 kilograms. Notice that we don't have to use all the same units for these things. Just make sure you hit a return after you select something with the arrow keys. You don't want to tab out before you do that. Calcium chloride 90 kilograms. Price is $1.23 a pound. And that's based on a 110-pound bag. And then calcium hydroxide. And I'm just going to choose the first one there. Hit a return. 34 kilograms. Okay, and that's going to be 98 cents a pound. Again, on a 50-pound bag. Okay, final ingredient, silica. Okay, now notice this one had quite a few. There's like 78 records there. You could kind of scroll through and decide what you want, but you know, some of them are going to be products that you might not be interested in, like You might wonder, well, how did silane get in there? Well, if you do show synonyms, that's a right click. It'll show you that there's like a name for it called silicate. So that little silica there caused it to show up. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on the validated button, and it looks like that helped narrow it down a little bit here. So I'm going to double click. I'm going to select silica crystalline, and 25 pounds at what, $3.99 a kilogram. Okay, we've got our ingredient list, my 6 ingredients there, and I put a note to myself I want to fill it in 5-gallon pails. So up here where the little containers are, the little containers icon, I'm going to put a 5, and I'm going to change this to gallons. Okay, so it's saying for a 1,600 pound batch, it's estimating 38 pails or 38 containers are going to be necessary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more thing down here. It's a part rather than an ingredient for the pails, but I can't just double click for a pail. I have to add it as a part. And here we get this blue text. Now, I don't know what it's called, so I'm just going to put in a star there to show everything. Tab out. And you can see there's a bunch of things here. So what I'm going to do with our little quick find box is I'm just going to type in the number 5, like for 5 gallons. And that brings us immediately to a jug. It's 5 gallons. It's not a pail, but for now, I'm going to take it. Okay. And you notice it's already got a price in there. $12.40 per pail or per jug. But if I were to take these 38 and put it in here, I'm just going to put in 40, make it even, and then tab out. You notice price went down to $10.90. The reason for that is that if I right click on this row and I go to show part for this item, bring up the parts section, and you can see that there's the price for one is also the same as the price per package is $12.40. But down here at the volume discount, if you buy 3 or more, it goes down to $10.90. So you can have different cutoffs for volume discounts in this list. I'm going to cancel it for now, close it to get out of the way. I just wanted to show you where that came from. I want to talk also about saving now, because there are 2 buttons down here which have the result of saving this batch that we've just created. One of them, this save button, it will save just the batch, and it will not update anything that we've done since we created the linked substance record over in the substances section. The done button, on the other hand, will do that. So but it also closes this form. So if I click on done, it's going to ask me, do you want to update the linked substance, okay, at the same time that you save the batch? And there are 2 tabs here. One of them is for the details, and so you can see all of these ingredients that we added, but not the parts, would go into the linked substance record. So it's also making a little notification to us that we don't have minimum and maximum concentrations, which are not necessary for the batch. But if you turn the batch into a safety data sheet at some point, you might want to have those so that you're not showing actual concentrations on the safety data sheet, but instead ranges of concentrations. I'm going to cancel this for the moment because I just showed it to you. And now I'll show you what the save button does. I'm going to click on it. It will save the batch, but it has had no effect on the related, the linked substance record. If we were to now press the done button and exit the form, it did not update the substance. We can look at the substance by right-clicking on it and say, substance for this batch. It'll bring it up. If I go to the composition tab, there's nothing there. So it didn't update because it didn't detect any change after we did the save with this button. There hasn't been anything that's changed since then. If you want to kind of like make it update, and there haven't been any changes since you last saved, what you can do is go to the link button here. and you can say update substance from this batch, and it'll bring up that same dialog. So you can say save batch with substance update. Our farm is still open. If you want, you can go look at that substance. I'm clicking on the link button here and say show substance for this batch. It wants me to save the batch first, so I'll do that. And then I'll open and go to composition, and there they are. You see, so there is a difference between using the save button and the done button, and I want you to keep that in mind. That, for example, you can also have save turned on automatically in preferences. You see, there's like this little slider here, so it like saves every 2 minutes or every 4 minutes. I generally leave it off, but you might want it on, and in that case, it's just going to do the equivalent of clicking on the save button. It won't update the linked substance record. So keep that in mind. In the next video, I will talk about a little bit about densities and specific gravities, because in this case, all the calculations that are done for batches are done in units of weight, whether or not the batch itself, you show it as being in weight or volume. And if you are using volume here, or if you're using 5-gallon pails in this case, for example, that's a volumetric unit, and you need to have a reliable specific gravity or density to do the conversions. And for our product that we entered, remember, I didn't put in a specific gravity or a density, so it's using a default value, and there may be a big difference between using a default and not using a default. All right, thanks for listening.